There's a lot of, I'm going to use the H word, hopelessly ambiguous language in this passage. I'll just say this. If you come across anyone that claims that they have this totally figured out, that person can be safely ignored. So, all the views of problem passages. It's just hopelessly difficult to try to be able to figure out which system is correct and how to sort of piece all this together. My view is that all of that is intentional. Again, I think prophecy, future prophecy works exactly the way that prophecy worked the first time. You're not supposed to know until hindsight. God has a reason for not putting all the cards on the table. Okay. Again, you sound, well, that's like a cop-out view. That's a cheating view. Well, call it what you want. It's my view. And every one of the systems will run into something that just is really difficult for the system to handle, and so it has to adapt. I'm going to say this with a few of them. You really can say things like they just got to make stuff up, to make it work. I was raised in classic dispensational thought. That was my first Christian context, and classic dispensationalism is Ryrie, Charles Ryrie, and C.I. Scofield. Those guys. And Ryrie got to the point where you have to understand, classic dispensationalism, I've been trying to teach you that prophecy is already but not yet. You got both things working. Classic dispensationalism says there is no already. It's all not yet. And so when Ryrie would get cornered on like kingdom language and stuff like this, he literally in one of his books, he wanted so badly for the new covenant to not be fulfilled in the New Testament that he said, well, then we need to expect a new covenant. Like he just made up a new covenant, like right there in the book. I'm going to call my covenant the Mike covenant. You'll see stuff like this happen that, again, when you look back on it, it makes you laugh, but like he was serious. He was serious about this, and he was a major figure in biblical scholarship in that tradition. I would say, end times can be fun, but it can very easily become something that you just, get caught up in, and it becomes frustrating, because there's just so much ambiguity.
Number one is, if you see somebody marrying their view of end times to either A, the gospel, or B, someone's level of commitment to Jesus, okay, then that individual has a spiritual problem. And as a pastor, I would hope you'd tell them that. Since none of us in the room are omniscient, okay, try to get everybody else to admit they're not omniscient, which is actually a taller order than you would think, especially on Facebook. The only thing I would put in the wrong category in these kinds of discussions is when these subjects become substitutes for one of those two things. And trust me, I know there are people who cross that line. So I'm going to try to be more concerned about the stuff that there is greater clarity on, because I'm going to assume that that's what God wanted me to focus on. But honestly, there are some people, that's where they're at. They may not realize, some of them do, but they may not realize it, but that's really what's running through their head. Like I know the answer to every question. Why can't you see?